Her Majesty's prison on lockdown for 2 days now as officials cannot locate a master key. Our cameras are there. The owner of this Esso service station shot in the face as he attempts to make a deposit. We have the latest on his condition tonight. BAHAMAS has hundreds on the payroll. We take a look at the project status and take a look at what was found swimming in waters off New Providence. Only some of the largest creatures of the sea. That story's coming up. It's Monday, October 17th. Stay right where you are. The Bahamas Tonight starts right now.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
A great Monday to all of you. I'm Shenique Miller. This is the Bahamas Tonight National Report. A major security breach at Her Majesty's prison at Fox Hill, and it's quite disturbing. According to reports reaching our newsroom at this hour, a master key is missing and prison officials do not know if it's lost or if it's in the possession of inmates. Now, the prison has reportedly been on lockdown since yesterday when the key came up missing and remained on lockdown for most of today, upwards of 3 o'clock this afternoon. Meantime, the search is into its second day for that key. Many officers are reportedly fearful for their safety as no one can be sure where the key is at the moment or if it will turn up. Now, our news team went to the prison this afternoon. Officials did not release any information to us. Of course, we will continue to follow the story for you. The hunt is on tonight for 2 men behind a mid-morning shooting that's left a businessman in critical condition in hospital. The shooting and attempted robbery happened around 10:30 this morning in what was a daring robbery attempt on the owner of the Esso service station on Wolf Road and Montrose Avenue. Police tell us that the 2 men reportedly approached the owner of the station when he was leaving in his truck along with a female relative, reportedly to make a bank deposit. An employee who wished to remain anonymous told us what happened.
My back was turned when my boss ready to go to the bank, and I heard a gunshot, and I ran in the back and locked up door. And I see my next coworker come outside, running inside, and so I heard the customer said, they get robbed, and I ran in inside shaking and see if I try to call the police.
The 51-year-old business owner was shot in the jaw, but he was able to drive off without the robbers getting anything. He was able to drive himself to hospital where he is detained in critical condition. Meantime, the employee says the Wolf Road and Montrose Avenue station has been targeted before.
For me, when my 3 years old, it's a 3 times. I've been there for 3 years. That's the 3rd time it happened.
And with statistics showing that guns are being used more and more in murders and armed robberies, the government's amnesty for persons to turn in illegal firearms announced by the Prime Minister on October 3rd is reaping results. This morning, an unidentified resident of Faith Avenue turned over a shotgun to the senior pastor of New Covenant Baptist Church, Bishop Simeon Hall. The police were immediately called to the scene of the handover. Now, just last week, the Christian Council publicly announced its support of the government's initiative. Now, Bishop Hall is encouraging more residents to heed the call.
This is the first I've put my hand on. We've had people inquiring as to whether they could trust the police, what's going to happen, and all that. And we are saying it's an amnesty period. Make use of it and get these illegal guns off the street. You might have a gun, but that very gun could be stolen and shoot a loved one of yours. Feel good about it. As a church person, I want to help the authorities to get these guns off the street. 2/3 of the murders committed in our country, the weapon of choice is guns. And so I simply want to help to police to recover guns. And we want to thank the family who were wise enough to say we want to get rid of this gun.
Now get this, police say they have received several calls this morning of residents wanting to turn in illegal guns.
This is a shotgun we retrieved. Obviously, it's been at its location for some time. However, it can still be used, and so we're very happy that we were able to retrieve it. Well, I think it's a very, very good move. I think we have to move with prudence with this, in that as long as we have the necessary personnel on board, we can make persons feel much safer in terms of turning in these firearms.
In news from Parliament, it's back to the debate on crime. Wrapping up his contribution on the bill was Golden Isles MP Charles Maynard, who ended just as he began last week, advising the youth of the country that there are positive options and they don't have to turn to a life of crime. Inathia Smith picks up the debate from here.
On day 3 of the crime bills debate in the House of Assembly, State Minister for Social Development Loretta Butler-Turner says we didn't get into this crime problem overnight. She says as far back as the 1970s, many Bahamians had a huge culture of drug dependency that seemingly still exists on some islands today.
I remember, Mr. Speaker, they act as if these automatic machine guns that we're seeing today are something that just arrived here post-2007. I remember a young man who came from one of the family islands to work in my business. One day when he was disgruntled, he said to my father, "Oh, you want me to bring my Uzi for you?" And he had a Uzi from back in the early 1980s. Mr. Speaker, where did these guns come from? They were imported here, Mr. Speaker, with the entire drug culture that buoyed this economy in the 70s and 80s.
She added that the country's history, although some hate to admit it, is a major part of the problem, and in order to appreciate our present, we have to know what happened in the past and not sweep that history of major drug and gun running under the rug.
You want to talk about where did we go wrong? We went wrong when our young women and our young men decided that education was not the way to go, that community development and doing right was not the way to go. Morals were out the window. Materialism became the order of the day, and we lost all of our moral fiber back in those days, Mr. Speaker.
But it was PLP MP for Bain and Grantstown, Dr. Bernard Nottage, who says that's not entirely the case, adding that much of what happened in recent years is to blame.
What is so obvious to rational persons in the Bahamas, but eludes the FNM spokespersons in this hallowed place, is this undeniable fact. The FNM, under the leadership of the member for North Abaco, has been responsible for the governance of the Bahamas for 15 of the last 20 years. He cannot escape responsibility, Mr. Speaker, for the state of the nation, and neither can they.
But he says the government seeks to continuously place the blame squarely at the opposition's feet.
The government is responsible for ensuring that those whom they put in places of responsibility carry out their duties. So you can keep on blaming the PLP, but if you're going to take the blame, Mr. Speaker, let's step on the side and let us do the job. That's right.
Dr. Nottage adds that while the government is, through these bills, seeking to increase sentencing and toughen crime laws, he says he doesn't think the government has done enough to stem this, quote, tsunami of crime in the Bahamas. Inathia Smith, ZNS News.
Slammed over the last several months for its handling of the school uniform program, today State Minister for Social Services Loretta Butler-Turner outlined the statistics regarding assistance to low-income families. She says as of October 7th this year, some 1,057 parents had applied for uniform assistance, with 859 New Providence applicants being approved since September 1st.
As of the 7th of October 2011, 926 applications for uniform assistance had been approved at a cash value of $216,911.97. On average, there were 3 children per household. Hence, Mr. Speaker, 2,770 children in New Providence as of the 7th of October 2011 had been provided with uniforms.
In Grand Bahama, 451 parents applied, with 422 approvals costing $59,750.84 for 891 students there. 29 of them were not approved due to their income or lack of Bahamian status. Over in Abaco, 9 of 30 applicants received uniform assistance for their children at a cost of $1,074.50. In Bimini, 11 children got uniforms from the government, while 614 other families Family Islanders got uniforms, more than half of them, 339, from Andros. Up to Friday, October 7th, the total amount the government spent on uniform assistance for all islands was $338,207.
We have far too many people who are working, who are expending their funds on other things and clogging up the social service system. So of the 422 approved applicants, I want you to hear this. Of the 422 approved applicants, 120, Mr. Speaker, were employed persons. 302 were unemployed.
Additionally, Butler Turner says some $223,302 was spent at the end of September on the school lunch program. Well, the Boundaries Commission has been named and will hopefully meet soon to jumpstart the process to either grow, reduce, or leave the constituencies as is. Whatever the decision, the Commission's decisions will determine heavily the extent of the work to be carried out by the Parliamentary Department. Carla has a look.
The existing 41 constituencies be further increased or reduced. Either way, Parliamentary Commissioner Errol Bethel and his team have their work cut out.
Well, despite whatever we did when we registered people to vote, we have now got to go and look at all of the persons who have registered to see where they are in relation to these new boundaries, whether it is a constituency boundary or polling division boundary. We have to look at these boundaries and we have to create a new map showing the new constituencies. And then after we would have done that, we would have to then go through all the cards that we have and make adjustments to the registration cards, all those cards and counterfoils, so that we are complying with the decisions of the Commission.
Currently, over 134,000 eligible voters have registered. However, it's estimated that there are still approximately 40,000 more who qualify.
Once we are satisfied that we have made the necessary adjustments, then we will issue the voters' cards to the public.
The public is being advised that if you've moved for more than 3 months or you find that the information on your voter's card is now incorrect, to come to the Parliamentary Registration Department and have the information updated. Because once writs are issued, changes cannot be made.
Please, don't complain about whether or not you're in the right place. If you find that you are not in the right place, based on, what your card says, please come back to us so that we can make the necessary adjustments.
The Parliamentary Commission is also appealing to eligible voters to not wait for the last minute to register.
And we urge the public to, those who are not yet registered, to make sure they get registered as quickly as possible.
When Parliament is dissolved, writs are issued within 48 hours for each constituency, informing the public as to the date and times of nominations and the general elections held within 90 days. Until that time, residents are being encouraged to register, as your vote is considered your voice in elections. Carla, ZNS News.